Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing good. It's a Friday, so the weekend's coming, and it's time to do a little bit of resin casting. So for anybody that doesn't know, my website was down yesterday, and it's been a kind of a stressful couple days. So I just decided to do something kind of simple today. We're going to do some more Chameleon Flake blanks, some hybrids. So I guess I have one ready to go. I have, I think, a couple other pieces of wood. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to do something a little bit simple today, chill out a little bit. So I hope you guys enjoy the fun today. So we have a couple of announcements. First things first, the Turner's Warehouse Christmas ornaments for St. Jude's, the auctions are going on right now. And I forget what day they end, but if you head over to the Facebook page, the Turner's Warehouse Facebook page, just scroll down, they have a pinned post. And they basically have an album of all the ornaments. And the way it works is you go into, the auction's actually being run on Facebook. And then I think you put your bids, you'd like pick, like click on one of the pictures and then scroll down to the comments and then add your bid down there. So I think they're going until Sunday. So make sure to, if you want to get in on the ornaments, if you want to bid on some, make sure to head over there. And I would ask also if everybody could share, the auctions, head over to the Turner's Warehouse Facebook page and share with anybody that you know. We're trying to raise money for St. Jude's. I should say, Chad really is doing it. But the idea is we want to make as much money as possible, so we need to get the word out to everybody. So I appreciate all you guys' help. So last week we worked with the Maker Select molds, and one of the problems that we had was, one of the whole point of those new molds is they're supposed to be pretty cool. The demolding thing, they have a little hole that you can use with a punch, and so last week we cast in them, and then I actually demolded them, in the middle of the week. So what I did was I decided to make some more blanks using those molds, and I thought first things first today, we will demold using the Maker Select molds. So let me switch views really quick here. I'll kind of show you guys what we are up to, what's going on over here. Get my calculator out of the way. So first thing is we have a couple of molds here, and so if you didn't catch last week's episode, these are the Maker Select molds that Turner's Warehouse is selling. And they have these two little silicone plugs in the bottom, and there's a hole. And basically, you can, let me find my 1/4-inch punch. You get one of them punches. You can get these at Harbor Freight or on Amazon, the punch sets. And you just stick it in that hole. It's a 1/4-inch, and you can use a hammer to kind of just pop them out. So, couple of notes about these molds. He has a rack as well. He calls it, I think, the demolding rack. And he didn't have one that I could take home with me when I was down in Phoenix, but I have one. He actually just shipped it today. And that holds it in place. If you saw my video on Instagram or Facebook, I was just kind of holding the mold in my hand, and then hitting it with the punch. Well, because your hand's moving and you're hitting it with a hammer, they don't demold as easy that way. So that demolding rack is going to hold it in place, and they pop out even easier. One thing also that I tried them with pretty much the 5 blank. I didn't use any mold release on it, and everything demolded fine, but I did have to give it a few whacks. I put a little tiny bit of stoner in the 2 blank mold, and I didn't really see a whole lot of difference. So I thought for this one, I gave these a pretty good coating of stoner before I cast them, so I just wanted to kind of see how that worked. But these are pretty cool. It's an innovative design having that little hole in the bottom, so it kind of helps with demolding. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, that doesn't really make things easier or whatever. And I think for me, the big thing about these is they are just milled out. So they took a full block of HDPE and then milled using like a CNC router the channels. So there's no, corner, there's like no joints. One of the problems that I have with some of my molds, I just slap them together with butt joints. And so you can see, I don't know if I can get a good picture of this, but you can see through. There's like gaps in these molds. It's not really a big deal, but in some cases, having a full block is actually a little bit better. So kind of like these things. And the other thing for me is, the other way you can go is, where are they? Is with silicone. And these work good. You guys have seen me use these, quite a bit. And they're good. They're easy to demold. Everything's great. The problem with these is if you load them up, then they bend. Like if you put big chunks of wood or something in them, then your mold can kind of be warped and you got these kind of funky blanks. And especially for me, maybe for a lot of people, it's not that big of a deal. But for me, I need to go back and then sand them flat because I'm usually selling them and I don't want to sell this wonky, warped blank and make it hard for people to cut up. I want it to be square. So that means that I got to go sand the thing, flat and then cut it again. And there's just more steps that way. These things are going to pop out with dead flat square blanks, which is so that's kind of the long way around me saying why I kind of like this idea. So let me, let's see here. I see Jamie super chatted. You rock, brother. I appreciate it, man. What was I going to say? That actually makes me feel really good because I've had, the last 2 days, my website's been down and it's just been a nightmare. So I got to be honest, that super chat really made me feel good. I really liked it. Yep. You perked me right up today. But anyway, so let's demold these. And the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, you got me all flustered, Jamie. Hey, Jen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys rock. The super chatters. You're the superest chatters I know. So let me switch to the other view. Here's what's going on today. So I got these really cool pieces of wood here and I dye stabilized them. This one's pretty cool. It's got these like caverns in it, so it's going to be fun to cast that. And I thought we could paint on these little chameleon flake things on the front of this and in the caverns. And then for this piece, you guys can see how it's really dark in there. The way the wood was, it was kind of sort of blackish, like there was black kind of stuff on the surface on the live edge. I didn't really go in and like clean it up extremely well. And so I think that especially for blocks like this, where it's kind of dark, you can't really see, there's not like vivid color on that. There's a lot of black marks. I think this chameleon flake thing is perfect for these types of hybrid blocks that turn out that way, where you have kind of dark areas or they're difficult to get in and get the cactus juice off and it's kind of darkening up things. So I think this is going to liven up that inside of this piece especially. And I got a couple other pieces like that, I think. Let's see here. I don't have any off. Well, here's some. Here's a couple examples. I'll just kind of show you a couple. Oh, actually, I had another tub full right here. But, like for pen blanks, like this piece, it's not super amazing looking on the outside. Now, the bottom and everything, when you turn that out, it's going to look great. But this surface isn't like the most amazing thing. I would probably, for pen blanks, I would probably just go with like a opaque resin in general for that rather than mess with it. Got a couple little dark areas on this. This actually looks kind of cool, but it's not the best example. But here's a couple other examples for stoppers. They look okay, but there's a lot of really dark areas on this. And I think, just kind of painting over some of these little chameleon flakes or something else. You could even just paint on some mica powder or something and just kind of add a little pop to where, these areas that are just kind of dark and not really that impressive. So anyway, that's what is happening today, guys. So we'll just do that now. A couple other little notes. You guys, we've been messing around with like chameleon flakes and dragon egg blanks. And one of the big things that I've been trying to do is find a resin where like UV resin, see if I can get that to work. And to be honest, it's kind of still a mixed bag. I bought some new UV resins. I am not getting Alumilite's Aluma UV to cure. And I thought, I had an older one that we used a while ago, and I got some problems with the adhesion. This is brand new, and I got the same exact problem, and it doesn't really want to cure. I think that it would take a lot longer to cure that type of resin, like maybe 15 to 30 minutes or something like that in the sun. That's not really ideal. I mean, frankly, at that point, I can just use 5-minute epoxy and it's going to go faster. But I also use some solar res That's another brand, Solar Res. Let me switch cameras. Solar Res. I tried this out, and it cures really well. It cures dry to the touch and everything pretty fast, but I didn't get spectacular results. I got a couple of areas on this one that I did, and I'll get a better camera view, where there are still that shiny kind of some sort of a, it looks like an adhesion issue or something is just not, you know, right about it. So let me switch again. That's the wrong view. That's the wrong view, guys. So I don't know if you can see. Let's see. Is it? Yeah, I don't know. Let me look at it without the, there's a couple areas that are really shiny in there where the resin just didn't really, you know, the casting resin didn't really work as well. The white worked a little bit better, but there is one area down there where there's kind of some shiny stuff. So it's just not really my favorite thing. And frankly, I've been getting pretty flawless results just using 5-minute epoxy or using, you know, Alumilite resin, whatever you were going to cast with it, or some sort of epoxy. So I think at this point, it's just not worth wasting resin and hybrid burls and all that kind of stuff with something that sort of works, you know. Now, I do want to mention that Ben over at Ben's Works, he uses UV resin and he has no problems. He does use a different resin, casting resin that I use. He uses an epoxy. That may be the difference, I don't know, but for me, it's just not even worth messing with. So you can get good results just using, you know, Alumilite clear or an epoxy casting resin, or 5-minute epoxy, I think is honestly the best way to go for this kind of stuff. You can paint it on, you know it's going to cure, and you're ready to cast something in, you know, about 5 minutes or so. So anyway, yeah, I think a few people have kind of had some issues with the Alumilite UV. To be honest, other people, and I've even talked to Alumilite, and I think that, you know, a lot of people use it for like nails, and like I think they have to sit there and let it cure for a while. One thing that I did was I thought, oh well, every resin needs like a different wavelength of light, or it will react better or cure better with a different wavelength. And Alumilite had a specific wavelength. I bought that wavelength flashlight and it didn't work any better. So I'm not going to use theirs. I don't think that's the best way to go. Solar Res is a decent UV resin, but it may just not really work that well. One thing that I'm thinking of is if you, we got some blobs of it in the California Raisins grapevine blank, and you could just totally see the glossy UV resin in there too. And it just, I think if you have too thick of a glob of it, it just looks like a clear glob of something. Whereas 5-minute epoxy works fine and it's just gonna blend in with your casting resin. So anyway, that was a lot of, yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. Just Resin is an Australian brand, I believe. So I'm not even gonna mess with it. It's just not worth it. I know 5-minute epoxy works pretty good. So for me, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should do anything. You guys can do whatever you want. For me, I'm just going to go with 5-minute epoxy because there's no question it'll work, and it'll work fast. So anyway, should be pretty fun. So let's demold. Let's do some demolding, guys. See how these things pop out of here. I don't know what the best way to go here is. I think I'm going to put the camera over here, and I'm going to demold them. Oh, and actually, here's the other thing. Here are the blanks that we made. Make sure I'm on the right. Am I on the right? Yeah. Okay. Here's the ones that we made. Let's see. There's 5 of these. We did the way that they were arranged in the mold. It's kind of something like this. If you remember, where's my camera? There we go. So we did them like that. We kind of just poured some swirls. So these 3 are just clear, and man, these things turned out wicked. Good color choices, you guys. Teal, fluorescent red, and what was the other one? And purple, the plum crazy purple. Really cool looking blanks. So that technique is cool. I'm actually thinking that I think I want to pour another round of this type, just that clear kind of, I call it kind of graffiti style. And then we also did with the same colors of resin, we did the sponge stuff. And a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm kind of curious how that is going to turn. And the top of this, I mean, it's hard. It basically absorbed the resin. and just hardened it. So I think this is going to turn just fine. I think it's going to be great. Now this part, you know, at the top is not really, it wasn't saturated, but the parts where there are resin, I mean, that stuff is like, it's hard, literally just, you know, resin hard. But the spongy areas that weren't, you know, it is kind of spongy still. So pretty cool. I wanted to wait to show you guys how these looked, just pulling them out of the mold before I cut the tops off of these. But I think these are going to be pretty cool looking. So we did, again, the same thing. There's clear in those 3 colors in these blanks as well. So pretty neat looking. I like these things. But you can tell, I mean, look at these blanks. They're perfect. You know, like I don't have to cut them down. Now, one thing I do want to mention is there's a little hole, you know, the holes in the bottom, and I'll show you when we demold the other blanks. There's a little nib that you do need to sand off a little bit, but the bottom of the blank looks, you know, like whatever anyway. So the only cut that you would need to make, maybe, is the tops, just to make them square. But pretty happy with how those molds work. And then in the 2 blank mold, we did these. These are cutoffs, like Alumilite, you know, blanks that were just kind of crushed, sort of cracked. So you can see those little chunks are in there. Tough thing about these is you're not really going to have a clue how these look unless you cut into them a little bit, and, you know, basically until you start turning. But I think they're going to be pretty awesome pen blanks. So that's what we made last week. So I'll get those cut up and I'll add them to my web store if anybody is interested in grabbing those. So now let's get this thing set up over here real quick so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to make sure that I'm on camera. Yep. So I sprayed these pretty well with Stoner. First thing I'm going to do is just tap them and see what happens. All right, so they're not coming out. I got a lot. I was kind of messy with this pour, so it's not popping. Where did my little thing go? I got to go get my hammer real quick. So I think that because they're both kind of connected in here, they're not going to really move. What I've found is it probably helps best, and I'm waiting for that little tray thing. It holds the molds up by the edges, and so it's holding it in place while you pound it instead of just trying to hold it. Your hand moves, so it's not the most ideal thing, but all right, so I popped that one loose. I'm going to pop this one loose. All right, so they're coming out already. One thing that I want to try is a little bit of air. That's something that I didn't do last time. So let me go get a air nozzle for my air hose. And let's see if we can just blow these things out. A lot of people asked about that, and I totally forgot to try this. Once you get them kind of popped, I think this might work pretty well. So one thing I'm going to do that I've found when you're blowing, you know, because you can use this technique with silicone molds as well, but I got to be honest, guys, you got to really watch out with your eyes, because these sometimes they'll just go flying out when you're, you know, hitting things like this with forced air. So I got my eyeglasses. Got my eyes on. Look at that. What do you think? That worked really good. Oh man, super cool. So like I said, once you kind of just pop them, I think you can just stick the air in and be good to go. Now I wanted to show you, there is this little nib that you're gonna have to kind of, you know, sand off or whatever, but pretty cool. And now what I made, these ones I just did on my own. I used the color shift powder and black, and just kind of mixed that together. So you got a lot of transparency in some areas, and then you got totally black, but that black really makes the color shift powder pop. So these things should be cool. And then I put let's see here. I got to look at these again. This one, you know, obviously you can see the gum pods I put in there. And then this one I just put some of the chunks. Let's see if I can get here's a shot. The blank cutoffs are in there. Hard to see, but pretty cool. So I'm gonna stop and see what you guys think about that, blowing it out of the thing. Yeah, okay, so let's try not even popping them and going with air. Once I pop, I can't stop. I know. That's fun. These are a little bit. Who said that? They're thin. Was it Robert? Yeah. So these are 3/4 inch exactly. Now I got to be honest. That's what I cut my blanks to anyway, and I poured them about an inch tall. So they do look kind of really thin compared to the height. And I'm actually. I personally like 7/8 blanks, and they have 7/8 molds. I didn't know this. I just kind of grabbed these, and like Chad he had an appointment after our classes, and so we didn't get a lot of it was kind of like, oh, here's some molds and have a good one, you know. So I'm actually going to be giving these 2 away, and Chad is sending me some 7/8 blanks. So, I mean, that doesn't help you guys if you want to grab one, but 3/4 is fine for pen blanks. You know, there's really nothing that you need to do to these at this point because they're pretty much perfect out of the molds. I would probably just square this up, cutting it on the table saw. That's about it. But so just to let you know, these ones that I used for these blanks are 3/4 inch, you know, width, but they do also have 7/8. So, okay, let me get my glasses back on. We're going to try the air only method. Let's see how this works. So again, we got these little plugs. I'm just going to pop them out. They're easy to pull out. Let's see how this works. Those ones came out really good. Let's see how this goes. Oh, look at that. Oh, that one didn't want to go. No. Oh, that one is. My hand's in the way. Woo, look at that. So let me just give these a little quick tap. I'm just gonna give them a really quick one. I think that's probably gonna do it. Look at that. I'm telling you guys, this is just fun messing, demolding blanks like this. This is where the fun's at, guys. Oh man, how exciting. So wear safety glasses. Maybe have a little backstop or have someone ready to catch with a catcher's mitt. I lost one. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so let me get these on camera. I went with some weird colors. I tried to do something. I tried to do it Dunkin' Junkie style, the way you guys do it. I picked some colors that I wouldn't have normally really picked. Let's see. What did I do? I'm going to have to look this up. I know I did Midnight Purple. I did Forest Green. And I think it's Antique Gold. Is that what I did? And then Platinum Silver. Let me just double check my notebook because I wrote notes, obviously. I think it's a really kind of an elegant looking blank. Honestly, it's kind of different. I did, let's see here. Yeah, Blaze Orange. That's what that is. Kind of looked a little bit gold. I guess actually now that I'm looking at it, that it's orange. So pretty cool looking. I really like these blanks. They're just so interesting doing it that way. So I think we'll make a batch of these again today. And I also want to mention that there is, you know, the one thing about these, you're going to have to kind of do something about that little nib on the bottom. Not a big deal. Just it takes 2 seconds to hit it with the disc sander or something like that. But pretty fun, guys. I don't know. Set up an aircraft carrier. Yeah, a little net. I'm telling you. Hey, how's it going, Steve? Happy Friday. A fishnet. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, it's pretty fun. So anyway, they work pretty well. Like I said, I think that the little demolding rack is probably going to make, if you're pounding them out, it makes things a lot easier. I actually saw Chad do a full block. I don't think those are up yet. So right now he has the lines, you know, just the single blank molds, and he's got from 1 to 5, maybe even 6. I don't know. Those are up on his website now. And then he's going to have some full block molds as well. And that's actually what we were demolding while I was at his shop. So, and he used that little tray to pop them out. It works great. So anyway, Hey, thanks, Billy. Yeah, well, it was a pretty good one. I'm all of these. You guys came up with the really fun colors. The bright, vivid colors. And I thought, I haven't really made anything that's a little bit more, I don't know, like that midnight purple in the forest. Is it forest? No, sorry, spruce green. I apologize. It was spruce green, Caster's Choice. Those are like really dark, and I thought, add a little bit of metallic look. I added orange to add a little bit of brightness, but those kind of darker colors with the clear, and it just, I don't know, something I'd never seen before. So anyway, needs a bowl blank mold. That would be sweet. That's true. How's it going, Randy? Hey, Randy was at the beginner class. How's it going, man? Did you get my email? I emailed everybody to make sure that they had the beginner's guide ebook. Oh, and actually, I forgot. There's another big piece of news, guys. So if anybody out there is thinking about getting into casting, and maybe you've been thinking about getting my ebook, wait until next weekend, Black Friday weekend. I'm going to do a 50% off deal on my ebook. So, woo, it'll be kind of fun. I don't usually do Black Friday stuff. I kind of set my prices for blanks and everything to a point where like that's kind of what I need to sell them at, So sales are kind of hard for that stuff. But for the ebook, I thought it'd be really fun to do a 50% off. Hopefully get, more people kind of into casting by tempting them a little bit with a cheaper price on that ebook, so that they can kind of make that first step, and hopefully, for next year or through the kind of, holiday break time, maybe for Christmas, get casting supplies, that kind of thing. So anyway, Black Friday deal, $5 for my book. Should be pretty cool. Okay, good. You got the email. Sweet. Awesome. Okay, so we had some fun demolding some blanks. Like I said, what I want to do, we're going to do another one of these batches of blanks today. So we're going to use the 5 blank mold. We'll do this at the end. First, we'll do the Chameleon Flakes stuff. So one thing to make sure don't forget, put your little plugs back in. Otherwise, you're going to have a serious problem when you cast in these molds. So pop them in there. They go in easy. And we'll do another batch of these things at the end here. So we got our mold ready. Whoops. This mold has been in the oven for like 3 hours. I'm going to take that out now. Didn't get around to that batch of blanks. How do I get the book? Good question. I'm sorry about that. I didn't even think to put a link for you guys. There's links in most of my videos. There's actually a link in the show notes to this one already, I think. But very good thing. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. So yeah, envywoodworks.com/ I don't know, you can just search for beginner's guide, but I have it on a lot of my pages on my website. For anybody that doesn't know what that book is about, it's literally for beginners. It's not turning blank specific, it's just general information about resin casting. I know that when I got started, I really had no clue really what was going on with resin. And so I wanted to make a book that was for anybody, regardless of what type of casting you're going to be doing, just explaining how does resin work? Like, what are we doing here? How does it work? What stuff do you need to get started? One of the big things that I like about that book is I put a bunch of different types of uses of resin. I know that I've gotten a lot of really good ideas on how to use resin for turning blanks by watching other people. Just for instance, Punished Props, they do costume and prop stuff, and they use resins, and I've actually gotten some really good ideas that I wouldn't have even thought of for turning blanks from their channel. So there's a couple of examples of different random types of things in there. Kind of how to choose, the differences between the resins, how to choose which one you want to work with. So it's just kind of, like I said, very, basic stuff, beginner stuff for people that are kind of like, I kind of want to get into it, but I don't even really know where to start. So that's what it's all about. And it's available on my website, envywoodworks.com. All right, so, and like I said, so it'll be going from Friday till like I think it's the 29th. Is that Friday next week? I don't know. What days? Yeah, it must be 7 days from now. So the 29th through the 1st. It'll be ending on the 1st. Black Friday deal. I'm gonna just pop these plugs in before I forget. probably would notice that there's 2 giant holes in the bottom of these things, but you know, always better to be prepared. All right, so I'm gonna put my hammer away, get that out of my workstation, and we're gonna get our area kind of set up here for making some of these chameleon blanks. Now, again, if you're not really familiar with chameleon blanks or dragon egg blanks, basically we're gonna be using some burl wood. Make sure that, let's switch camera views. I think I'm gonna get a light out too. Might be a little bit helpful to have more light over here. So we're going to be using burl, and what we're going to do is paint on this product called Chameleon Flakes, and that'll just kind of enhance the look, add a little bit of interest to this burl. And so I'm going to, if you didn't see me show you guys what we were doing, I'll bring these guys over here so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. So for instance, this piece of wood is going to look great. You know, I'm thinking we'll make like a 2-inch block kind of thing and put this on one end, probably put this guy on the other. And this one, you know, this wood right here is pretty, there's a lot of colors going on and it's pretty cool already, but what we're going to do is add some chameleon flakes to the surface. We're going to paint it on. We're going to mix it in with some 5-minute epoxy and just paint it on here, and it'll add some bling basically to it. But where I think this really excels is on pieces like this where we have these kind of dark, let me get this light out of the way. You know, it's really dark in there and it's not really the most impressive looking wood, but what we're going to do is we're going to pour clear resin around. So basically toss it in this mold, and there's going to be transparent, at least, if not totally clear resin, so that you can see all the cool stuff going on the inside, but it's not really that cool besides the bumps. So we're going to put these chameleon flakes on. They're kind of a glittery, color shifting stuff. Kind of, you know, like I said, I don't exactly know what this stuff is. It's kind of like a glitter mylar kind of stuff. And I get this from solarcolordust.com. I'm going to put a link to them. They have a ton of awesome casting stuff, guys. Definitely head over there and check out what they got. They got glitters and I don't know. They got a ton of stuff. I've done a lot of different things using their products. So, and they even have like temperature color change stuff, and I mean, just honestly, they got some really, really wicked stuff for resin casting. Try and get this light on here. So what I'm going to do is kind of, sit over here. I think I'm going to bring the camera back over here. It's nicer if I can kind of look over, if it's kind of sort of looking over my shoulder a little bit. So I can kind of get it in there. So move this light over. Sorry guys. This will just give you a clue. When I'm actually doing the normal videos, man, it takes a lot of time to get things set up because you're always constantly moving lights around and doing stuff. Now, what I have found, and I kind of was talking about this a little earlier, I've tried using UV resin and it just doesn't seem to work for me. I don't know if it just doesn't like Alumilite clear or if it wasn't cured enough, or I don't know what the problem is, but 5-minute epoxy works fine. So I'm going to mix up a little cup of 5-minute epoxy here. Hey, how's it going, Sarah? Welcome. Who put a handle on an egg? Eggs don't have handles. Huh. Nice. Is Kim here? Where's Kim at? We all love bling. I agree. All right, so what was I doing? Let's see here. Oh yeah, getting a little mixing cup here. I'm actually gonna get a few of them. So I got a couple different colors of that stuff. One of my favorites, and it's what we used last time when we did these are called Chameleon Flakes on solarcolordust.com. And they had one that one of the colors was forest. And whatever that one is, unfortunately, they were totally out of stock when I bought these, of course. I found that one, I was really impressed with that color. I liked the forest, whatever. It's kind of a green, and a couple other different colors going on in there. But it seemed to really pop. I really like that one. So we're just taking our little piece of burl here. I'm going to take some 5-minute, these are brand new. So I gotta open my 5-minute epoxies. And this is just, it's JB Weld brand. That really, I don't think it matters at all. I get it. It's just whatever they had on the shelf at Home Depot. So we got our little bit of, oh man, what's going on here? Oh, I also got to cut the tip. Jeez, they're making it difficult for me. Can I just get my epoxy out of the thing? Come on. All right, so I'm just going to cut this off. Now I think I can pour this out. So I'm just going to put a glob of it. The nice thing about 5-minute epoxy is you can just kind of mix up a little bit, paint on, you know, an area. You don't have to mix it all or whatever. You can just add a little bit more if you need more, whatever. Oh, what am I doing? I'm okay, guys. I got to open this one too. I'm pretty excited. So I just heard that Mr. Scott Grove is going to be in my neck of the woods next February. So he's probably going to stop by my shop. It'll be pretty cool. If you're not aware of, if you don't know who Scott Grove is, he does Imagine Grove. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got some really good videos, all kinds of different stuff. But he is a master craftsman. He's a master veneer artist and a woodworker. And he's doing resin stuff now and turning. He does all kinds of stuff, but he's just a really cool guy. And his wife's awesome too. So it's going to be a pretty fun little time in February. Next year is going to be busy for me. That's going to be the theme of 2020. So in case anybody doesn't know, I'm definitely going to Makers Central next year. So I've already been in contact with Easy Wood Tools, probably be doing some demos for them. Same with House of Resin. We're still talking and trying to figure out what's going on. I got to kind of wait because they don't necessarily have the plan for what they're doing with their booths, but I'll be doing some demos, and I'm definitely going to be out in the UK for Makers Central 2020. It's going to be awesome. So we got that, and then we got the SoCal Pen Turners Gathering. That's the beginning of February, I think it is. No, end of February. I think it's like February 29th. Next year's a leap year, guys. Did you know that? All right, so we've got our epoxy mixed up here. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Any comments? Sorry, I can't see the chat. So the one thing about this is this stuff it gets kind of all over the place. So you really want to be careful. Don't like tip it over, like bump it on accident. So I'm gonna grab a lot of these flakes. And I'm just gonna dump it in there. And they're kind of statically, static kind of. They like stick to things. So just I'm warning you guys. This stuff kind of gets all over the place. You don't want to sneeze while you're mixing this up either because they'll go flying. Just a couple tips that I've found. All right, so we got this green. So this one, which one is this? This is the, here's the package, guys. So this is the Super Chameleon Flakes gold, green, purple, blue. That's what I got in the cup right here. And so I'm going to pull out I have a little paintbrush thing. Actually, this is like a lip gloss brush. You can buy these on Amazon for cheap. I think I'll use that one instead. And then basically, we're just going to paint this on the surface. And it'll add a little bit of life to these areas, especially down in this kind of, the back, this kind of cavern. It's all just kind of dark in there, and it's just not the most pleasing thing to the eye, but you add a little bit of this bling on there and it completely transforms a blank. And so a lot of people are using these to make the, like the dragon egg or dinosaur egg, whatever kind of egg blanks. And this stuff kind of ends up making it, you know, certain colors of it will make it look kind of like, I don't know, reptilian. You know, you get your greens in there and stuff. And it just adds a little bit of kind of fun to, you know, the surface of these live edge blanks. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cast this in clear. So I'm going to stop for 1 second, and while I'm painting, look at the chat and see. If you go, you're going to visit, not trapped in a booth. I hear ya. The nice thing about doing demos or being affiliated with some you know, someone that has a booth is you kind of have a home base of operations a little bit, so people are kind of, you know. But I will say that there is just the, you know, if you want a kind of a home base, one thing they've done at Maker Central that's pretty nice is they just have this like YouTuber area. And so you could kind of just say that I'm going to hang out there most of the time or whatever. But I totally agree. It's a lot of times, especially the first few things, you know, like turning symposiums and things that I attended, I just went because I actually wanted to experience the event and be able to kind of, you know, walk around and not have some other obligation. But at this point, I got to be honest, I actually really enjoy doing demos and stuff. It's so much fun. You can actually, you know, kind of, I don't know, help people a little bit and, you know, turn. I mean, obviously the big thing is it kind of helps financially, but I don't know. I really enjoy doing demos. It's kind of fun to get out there and actually make stuff at the shows. Hoping to do, last year I did like a stabilizing thing at House of Resin, and that was fine, but like, I mean, really my wheelhouse is really resin casting stuff. So I think I'm going to try and make sure that I'm doing actual resin stuff this time. But I hope you can make it, Doug. That'll be awesome. And anybody that, you know, if it's possible to make it out there, I highly recommend Maker Central. It's by far the best event that I've been to. I didn't go the first year, but everybody said it was awesome, you know. And so that made me kind of jealous. So I went last year, and it was just fabulous. They put on a really good show. The people are just amazing. And the cool thing about Maker Central is it gives you kind of access. It's not just a turning event. So, you know, I can understand if that's really all that you're interested in, you know, turning symposiums and things like that are not a bad thing to go to. But it is cool being able to see. I mean, they had like, you know, fabrication, blacksmithing. Jamie was doing scroll sawing. I mean, I can't even honestly, I'm trying to paint and think at the same time. There was like something for everyone and all kinds of really interesting, cool stuff that you could either watch or do, you know, like learn about. It's pretty cool. It's a great event. All the people, all the makers that go out, you know, like attend are awesome. If you couldn't tell, I can't say enough good about it. It was an amazing event. All right, so that's looking pretty awesome, I think. I think that, you know, like, what do you guys think? This just, to me, that's way more interesting than that kind of dark, dingy, you know, it just wasn't amazing before. And I think that this really adds a lot of pop to a blank, you know, to this piece of wood. So I'm going to kind of put that aside for now, let it kind of cure. I think what we're going to do is I want to also do the same thing. I want to try and kind of paint in a little bit on the inside of this maybe. But I want to get it on this kind of front edge, because what we're going to do is we're going to be casting this in this 2-inch block mold. And so what I had in mind was, let's see if I can get on camera here. I actually want to have a little bit of resin on the back end of this, but I'm just going to basically kind of put these guys in here like this. Maybe not. Let's see here. How did I do this? Like this. This is how it was. That's how I'm going to arrange these. And so we'll have, you know, you'll be able to kind of get in there and see some stuff on both ends of this. So I might even paint some on this side of it, of this piece as well. All right, so let's, I think what I'm going to do, there's a lot of green going on in this and kind of gold tones. what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some of this kind of purple. Let's see, what colors are these? Here's the product for this one. Blue, purple, red, gold. Super Chameleon Flakes. So pretty cool. I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit of this color as kind of just like a couple little highlights on this piece. But right now I'm going to mix it up and we're going to start kind of painting it on this one. And it should be pretty cool. So what do you guys think? I think it's a really cool thing. I don't know. Oh, Mike, I wish you could do it. I have a feeling they'll probably do it again. I have a feeling. But you never know. There was a lot of talk that they might not do it this year, or 2020, after coming back. Yeah, money and work. I hear you guys. It is tough. You can check out your turn casting. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Robert. Check out your turn casting. Hey, Donna's here. How's it going? I'm glad that you could make it out. All right, so let's continue on here. Let's make up another batch of this stuff. Probably, you don't really need to mix up a lot of this 5-minute epoxy. You're only going to have so much time to work with 5-minute epoxy before it really starts kind of setting up. So I think it's, you don't need, you can just mix up a little bit more if you need more. I think that's kind of a better way to go probably. At least that's what I do usually. And like I was saying, you could use, Ben over at Ben's Works, he seems to get decent results using UV resin, which I think is a brilliant idea. I've just had some issues with it. And so I've kind of given up messing with it because I'm tired of getting blanks that have weird issues where the casting resin meets the UV resin. But you could also just use, whatever casting resin that you're going to be casting with. So I'm going to use Alumilite Clear Slow Set. When I pour the blank, you could use that, and I've used it in the past. The only issue with that is, you have a longer working time, and it's usually a little bit thinner. So it tends to kind of want to like run a lot more. That's another reason why I kind of like this 5-minute epoxy. But UV resin, I mean, it's really the perfect way to go because you can, mix up whatever you want, wipe it on, and then you hit it with a light, and it cures. And so, you have unlimited working time, but you tell it when to cure. I wish that I could get better results with it, or at least have, more consistent results, because that's what I would pick personally. So, if you want to use the stuff that Ben over at Ben's Works uses, I think he uses the Just Resin, casting resin, and it might even be the same brand of UV. And he seems to get perfectly good results. I don't know. So, eventually I'll do a little bit more testing, probably using wood that is not really, super high quality or whatever. So I'm tired of wasting good burl wood for these types of things. I think I'm going to add a little bit more of that powder. Or Chameleon. It's not really a powder. It's more kind of like a mylar flake that has kind of color shifting going on. This one's a pretty good color. I like this. There's a lot of stuff happening with this whatever formula. I think we're going to go even more though. I want to load this stuff up. See how it just kind of floats and goes everywhere. Like I said, you really don't want to breathe. Like you're just breathing, you'll make this stuff fly around. All right, so I think that's fairly well mixed in. Now, another thing that you could do is just like paint on some 5-minute epoxy onto that burl, and then just kind of drop these flakes on top of that. That's another method. I typically just kind of add it usually, you know, add it to some 5-minute epoxy and then just paint it on like this. Man, I mean, look at that. It just, serious pop and bling going on, guys. I'm gonna stand over here and look at the thing here. You guys are just chatting it up. Let me we'll switch to the intro view. You can watch me paint while I read the stuff. I can't wait to turn anything. Oh yeah, you just got set up with everything, David. I'm glad. I think you're gonna have fun with it. I know I did. I had been woodworking for a number of years before I got into, you know, resin casting and turning. Well, I should say turning first. And I specifically stayed away from it until I had, because my real focus was I wanted to learn, you know, flat work, case work and stuff like that, like making furniture and things. That's what I got into woodworking for. And so I knew about turning, but I didn't really, I knew that if I got a lathe, it would be like this whole other thing that I would just probably like fall in love with and quit doing other stuff. So I'm glad that I actually did not, you know, start off, you know, buying a lathe and all that stuff when I first got started, just because of what I wanted to do. But at this point now, I do everything that's, you know, resin and turning focused. But I'm glad that I'm glad that I learned like general, let's just call it kind of like general woodworking stuff first, because that stuff is all like, I don't even have to think about it. And I use that, you know, for certain things, but I think, man, you just can't beat turning, because generally you can just slap a piece of wood or, you know, a blank or whatever on the lathe and have a project done in like, you know, a matter of like minutes in some cases, if not like, you know, an hour. Definitely, you know, most projects that you do on the lathe, you can finish in a weekend for sure. Like, I mean, start to finish. And so it's so much fun. Lots of stuff you can do. There's less planning. Also, I'm going to switch camera views real quick. Here we go. Is that the right one? No. Turning. I have one view called casting, and we're kind of casting stuff, so I always like pick that on accident. I'm like, we're doing casting now. Should be on the casting view. So what do you guys think about that? Pretty cool looking. So I want to get down into this, you know, this area here. And instead of just kind of having a cavern that would just be dark, now depending on how you held the final piece, you know, like what your viewpoint would be and how the light hits it, you know, you're going to get some kind of reflection and some color popping out in that deep kind of hole right there. It's going to be pretty sweet, I think. I think this is going to be a pretty cool blank. All right, so I got to get moving here. So the one thing about this is it's not fast. You know, this is not a fast process necessarily. You know, you're kind of just be ready to take your time, have some fun with it. I think that this, if you're in a rush, you know, you're trying to kind of rush around and get things done quick, I think that you may not enjoy this as much. But if you take the time to just kind of, you know, enjoy the process, this is a really fun way to make a cool looking blank. And so I have a video, you know, this stuff is dye stabilized with cactus juice, dyed cactus juice. And I have videos on how to, you know, do stabilizing stuff on my channel. Look for the playlists. I have playlists set up for stabilizing and all that kind of stuff. One of them is dye stabilizing. I have a video on that. So if anybody's curious about kind of how I do this process of getting the wood like that, I do have some videos. Now, I do want to mention my stabilizing videos, the general, it's like a 3-part video series. I made that many years ago, and for the most part, the information is accurate on how the steps are, like what you do. The one thing about it is, and I do want to, I just haven't had time to do this, but I want to update that to reflect a few changes, things that I do a little bit differently, but I can kind of explain that. The main things that are different are I generally give each one of the steps of the process a lot longer time than I mentioned in that video. So wood drying, you want to make sure that wood is 0% moisture content, bone dry if you're stabilizing it. And that's for two reasons. You're going to get a better stabilization, and it's also not going to screw your pump up. If you get a bunch of moisture in there, you're going to have to change the oil on that pump. And eventually, it could kind of rust out. So it's best to have bone dry wood when you're stabilizing. When you do the vacuum process, make sure that it goes until there's no bubbles coming out. And then the biggest thing is the soaking period. I do that, let it sit for a day or two. You're going to get the best results doing that. So you can just let it sit in the cactus juice for a day or two. And then, or even longer. I mean, honestly, it's not going to hurt anything. And then when I cure, you cure the resin. At this point, just to make sure everything's fully cured throughout the entire piece, unless it's something very small, but something like this, I literally just leave it in the oven overnight. And I find that I get the best results. There's no question that everything cured properly. So that's how I do it. Like I said, all that stuff I cover in the video. So I need to get in there and do some on this end. I think I might go for a little bit of green in there. I got some green in the wood, so I might paint a little bit of green on here as well as some more of the kind of purpley stuff. And I'm thinking about kind of hitting this with a couple spots of green on the front. But it's going kind of slow, but it's like I said, it's kind of fun as long as we're good. Where do I get my burls? A lot of times I get them from Ethan Cook. So, AussieBurlsUSA.com. He's got a website. That's one place, or just Ethan L. Cook on Facebook. He's got lots of wood, and he's got some really good wood. There's tons of places, though. Burl Hunter up in Oregon is a good place. Cook Woods has some pretty good burl. It's a little bit more kind of expensive usually. Two Tree Boys is a good place. They got lots of different woods. There's tons of them. There's even groups that are just on Facebook that are just like for selling, turning stuff, supplies and things like that. I think there might even just be some for straight burl wood. So there's quite a few places. eBay, there's some deals there. But I just buy a ton of it from Ethan, and he sends me a big box, and I just go for a while until I run out. I find for dye stabilizing, so far the best species that I think that you get the best bang for your buck, it's going to absorb the most color and work the best, is Buckeye burl or maple burl / box elder burl. It's kind of the same thing. So, like I said, there's lots of different places. I know there's there's certain people have their favorites. I think just kind of comes down to I've been working with Ethan for a while, so I know his product. I know what to expect with him, so I just go for it with him. But I've also I've gotten some wood from Two Tree Boys as well, and they got good stuff too. And eventually I do actually want to get some wood from Burl Hunter. It's nice that they're on the west coast here, pretty close to me. So why did I throw that popsicle stick away? Oh well. So we're going to be putting this stuff, like I said, on that like kind of inside cavity on the back of this thing. So we got that mixed up. I'm going to grab another one of those little lipstick things. Actually, you know what? Where's the other one? I'm just going to use, well, it's kind of sticky and we're going to get a new one. They're cheap. So let's see here. Who's out? Dark Matter's out? Well, go grab some dinner, man. Don't want to hold up the dinner. I appreciate you coming out. All right, so I guess we're going to go in here, paint this on. You could probably do this a little bit faster than what I'm doing, but, you know. I'll try and kind of speed things up a little bit. I think you're best off just enjoying the process, though, at the same time, rather than trying to kind of hurry through it. Because it is a pretty fun process. Now, I also want to paint a little bit of this color onto my other one. I'm going to do that. And the beauty of this, like I said, you definitely are not going to have any problems casting this 5-minute epoxy. You can cast it right away. You really do not need to wait for any kind of curing or anything like that. Generally, it's best to have it like set up, you know, a little bit, but you can cast it with any resin right away without worrying about any compatibility issues or problems with, you know, adhesion or anything like that. So it's kind of a surefire way to get pretty good results. That's looking pretty wicked. All right, so let's do a little bit of this purple color on the other piece. Just put a little bit, not too much. In fact, I think I'm actually going to add just a little bit more. Make sure it's nice and saturated. Well, that wasn't very much. I can't remember how much these are. You get this jar. That's the size that you get. I can't remember how much. They're like $3 or $5 or something like that, I think. I'm not entirely certain. I can't remember. That kind of went on a little bit thicker than I really wanted, but we're just going to add a little bit of, like I said, some kind of highlights here and there. A little bit of purple. I think I'm going to try, my fingers are getting kind of sticky. Sticky Fingers Club. Here we go. Let's get some right here. All right, I think that's pretty cool. Look at that. Got a little bit of purple in there as well. And you could just have a field day with this. You could put all kinds of different colors. They got a ton of different ones. There's a little bit more in my cup, so I figure why not just toss it right down in here. Cover up a couple little bare spots here that we had. All right. This piece is done. Need to add a little bit of green to this one. So let me get another cup here. See what's going on. Hey, what's up, Mert? How's it going, man? What am I doing? Mini cup, mini little cup thing. All right. So I think we'll just get this one done. We'll pour this blank here. And I think what I'm going to do, yeah, I'm just going to save that one for later. We'll do this blank and then we'll pour the 5 blanks with a color swirl and we'll let you guys pick. So hopefully, I don't know, is Jamie still here? Hopefully our 2 super chatters are still here so they can pick colors. on those other ones. We're just going to go with clear, I think. Oh, I don't really need that much on this one, I don't think. I think it will go with like a 5-color mix on those blanks. I'm going to make some kind of graffiti style ones. And then, like I said, I think we'll just do a clear resin on this one. I might even actually use liquid diamonds, but actually, no. My liquid diamonds is a little bit old at this point. I don't know that I trust it. We'll go with Alumilite. That's the big problem with some resins. Like if you don't use it that much, then it just sits for a while and then you're kind of like, I don't know if it's still good or not. I'd have to do a test before I used it. I haven't used liquid diamonds for quite a while. Haven't needed it. All right. Got our 5-minute epoxy stirred up. Let's dump some of these green flakes in. Oh. Kind of messy, guys. Just be ready for that. You're going to have glitter all over you. All right. There we go. So I'm going to paint a little bit, I'm just going to kind of go for a little bit on the top here. Sticking to it. Oh no. We're okay. It's getting a little sticky around here, guys. Getting a little sticky. Oh yeah, I usually use a little paintbrush, but you can just use a popsicle stick as well. It'll work. So that's pretty cool looking. I like that. And then what I want to do is get a little bit of green on the inside here. So I think I'm going to need my paintbrush, or like I said, I think it's actually a lip gloss brush. We're going to add a little bit of green on the inside of this guy. I'm going to add some, see there's some green on the outside here on the wood. All right. That's looking pretty cool. All right, so let's add a little bit of some just kind of highlights here and there on this front part. I need to get this stick out of the way so I can get to my stuff. I'm just going to kind of add some highlights. Hopefully I had that on camera a little bit. All right, I'm calling that good. All right, so I'm just going to kind of set that aside. What we need to do at this point, we're going to be using this mold. And what I'm going to do, I think what we're going to do here first, I'm going to pop this in the oven. And I want to get this mold kind of started to be, warm. And I'm going to take these gloves off because everything that I touch is sticky. So is Jen still here? Let's see. Yeah, Jen's here. And is Jamie here? I don't know if Jamie's here. Not seeing Jamie. Move to this thing. So what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of warm that mold up. I'm going to glue in these pieces of burl. And then once I've gotten those glued into the mold, so we're just going to kind of warm up the mold a little bit. We're going to hot glue in those pieces, and then we're going to stick the entire thing back in the oven to heat up everything and just kind of get everything kind of warm. Resin just generally kind of likes warm things. So rather than, you know, pouring it in and having the wood be totally cold, you know, I'd rather just kind of warm everything up. It'll just all work pretty well. Same thing with the mold. Now, for the blanks, we also need to warm this guy up. So I'm just going to kind of pop off these little, there's a couple little things here. So I'm just going to use my little knife, kind of pop them off to get them out of the way so that they're not affecting anything. Yeah, pretty happy with these Maker Select molds. They work pretty good. And obviously, if you for anybody that's just joining the fun, shooting air in the back of these things works way better than pounding the heck out of it. And as long as you can get away with it without, you're not sticking stuff in the mold that you don't want to have mold release on, you know, it's not a bad idea to hit it with some mold release. Everything seemed to go really smooth this time. Not sure if the mold release made a huge difference or not, but that air shooting it in the back was super easy. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Nice. And so one other thing, I apologize, I haven't been able to get any videos made. Things have just been nuts with orders, and then my website went down in the last couple days, which is when I was going to be shooting video. So hopefully, I'm going to try, I want to get that saw blade clock resin art kind of thing. That's the next project. I've been trying to get that thing shot and made. That'll be the next video. I don't think that I'm going to get it, you know, I'm not going to get it up by Sunday. So hopefully the week after that, maybe on like Thanksgiving weekend, I can get it, you know, up and ready. So I do apologize for that. Things are tough when you're just trying to get everything, stay on top of everything. But I can't complain, you know, I appreciate everybody's orders, and it's great to be busy. But it kind of makes things a little bit more difficult on the YouTube side to be able to get things done like that. So I will try to stay on top of everything though, and get more on top of things. I should have shot some videos early and kind of kept them in. I should switch camera views because I'm trying to clean, like put the lids on these things and like clean it up, and it's just, there's stuff everywhere. It's just ridiculous. But all right, so we got our little chameleon powders. I'm actually going to go blow these off a little bit so that they don't track this stuff everywhere. Okay. So why don't we have everybody, so Jen and Jamie, if Jamie's still here, I don't think Jamie's still here, but Jen and Jamie get to pick colors for that. So we're going to do 5 colors, and we're going to do the kind of graffiti pour style like we did on these guys. So we're going to do a pour like that. We need 5 colors. All right. So why don't we have people, Jen, you get to pick a color. And if Jamie's still here, you get to pick a color. And somehow we're going to have other people pick some colors. So if anybody wants to super chat, you will have a color. But keep in mind there's only 5 and we already have 2 super chats. I just want to keep playing. I know that air nozzle thing is awesome. It's fun. Yeah, it is a good thing, Doug. It's tough though. So you'll start. No, please keep your orders rolling in. I appreciate it. Actually, you know, this is actually the busiest. November and December are the busiest months for me and, you know, most like turning supply people. And I don't know, everybody, I guess, really in retail. But then my website went down, and that just made, man. And it didn't go down. It was just, I moved it to a new server that was going to be like faster and more secure and all this, you know, wonderful upgrade thing. And there was some sort of a conflict on something between like WordPress and I don't know. I'm not a web developer, and the developer that I use in emergencies, like he's just totally MIA. Like nobody's heard from him in like months, and it's not like I keep tabs on the guy. So I was basically just caught with my pants down yesterday, like, and I was like, I don't even know what to do. This is over my pay grade. Rich, metallic black. I love it. Nice. So did you pick a color, Jen? Let's see here. There's so many people. I'm scrolling up to make sure I didn't miss Jen's color. Oh, peacock blue. Do you want to use that, these things? Which one are we on? I'm going to switch to the other view. Is this what you had in mind? The peacock metallic flake stuff? I don't know exactly what peacock blue is. if that's like a dyed color or something. Let me know if that's what you had in mind though. And Rich wants metallic black. What happened to the flip cup? They're already, that was a couple of weeks ago. They're already up in my store. That was like 3 weeks ago, I think. Two. So not last week, but the week before that. Peacock blue. Yeah, I have pictures on my I don't have them here. A lot of people are like totally confused about the way I do things. They're like, hey, can I come by your shop so I can look at your blanks? And I don't have any of my blanks that are for sale on my website here. I live 30 minutes away from the shop, and I do orders like at like midnight, basically like really late on the nights before Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I don't have a lot. It's weird. One thing that I really want someday is to have, a house and have a shop on site so that it'll just be like, oh, let me just keep everything there. Teal or royal blue? Yeah, there is. Oh, yeah. No, so these are going to be, this isn't for we're just doing clear. So I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're doing. So the 5 colors, that's going to be for these, and we're going to do clear and then pour them, so I just want to make sure you know what we're talking about. The Chameleon Flakes that we're going to be putting in here, I'm just pouring clear on that. I want to make sure that we can see all the stuff in there. So just sorry about that if I was kind of a little confusing. So we got metallic black, we got peacock blue. Let's see here. I'm going to go through, who else is here? Seeing. I'm going to pick one. Let me close this back up. So many things going on. I'll tell you one thing. It makes a lot more sense to do like one thing at a time, guys. Just to let you know. Makes it a lot easier. So, my camera's all messed up. Let's see. Sorry. I don't know which camera we're on. I might be right in the way, but got to plug my hot glue gun in. We're going to hot glue in our pieces here. Oh, this guy. A little bit sticky. I'm going to put gloves back on because why not? Oh, okay. I wasn't in front of the camera. Kevin's here. What's up, man? Welcome to the stream. All right. So we got a lot of metallics going on already. Metallic black. I guess the best way to do that is just use a mica powder. I don't really have any like flakes or anything, like anything like that. So we'll just go with the black pearl for that one. And peacock blue. I love how people come up with the best colors. Is that like royal blue? The blue, okay, blue sparkly stuff. We're gonna go with that. So it's kind of a teal. Am I even on the right camera? No. It's kind of a little bit more teal than blue, I think. But they literally call it peacock flakes. Let's see if that changes anything. So a little bit more green in it than blue, I would say. And actually, these metallic flakes, that's not a bad thing to paint on, you know, dragon eggs or whatever. And I got this from paintwithpearl.com. So let me get my black out. I'm just going to use the Caster's Choice Black Pearl. That's about as metallic black as I can get, I would say. All right, so we got that one. We got peacock flakes. And yeah, I like that peacock flake thing. That's pretty cool. Did somebody say... I think we should go for, let's see, metallic burgundy. I actually have metallic burgundy. Sorta. It's not burgundy, but it's like candy apple red. Am I on the right camera? Yes. I got a candy apple red one. So let's see if that, you know, if that works. These may not stay together, you know, like this. I would kind of say that mica powders might work better in this case, but the thing is, I actually really want to try, you know, doing multiple colors like this. So we got 3. We need 1 more, and then I'm going to pick a color. Unless we get a super chat. Hey, so how about Kevin Carpenter? Since you sent those tulip wood pieces, you get to pick a color, man. You pick a color. You get to pick a color. Are we on the... Yeah, okay, so this thing, no, it's not really heated up yet. Oh, it's not heated up at all because the plug's not plugged in. Oops. Always make sure your plug's plugged in, guys. It helps. All right, so let's see. Pick a color, Kevin. Pick a color. I'm going to get a drink of water while we're deciding. I also need to, actually, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to start writing the notes for the pour. So I'll just kind of switch to this one. Let's see. Interference gold. I actually have that. That's an interesting idea. I like that. So this is the casting view. So you guys can have a little kind of over the shoulder bird's eye view of what I'm doing here. I think I'll move this so you can see what I'm writing. I always make notes in every pour. Some notes are better than others. And somebody asked me in a video, or one of the streams, what this pen is. It's a digital pen, and so you have to buy these special notebooks. But this pen and its Neo Smart pen. There's like no light here. Sorry about that. I'm gonna. I don't have it. The problem is there's no light kind of coming down from this side. Is it gonna work? There we go. These cameras suck. Oh. Anyway, it's called Neo Smart Pen, And, you know, it's not cheap or anything like that. But the thing about this pen is you write with it, and then you have to make it, it's basically digitally saving whatever you wrote onto this pen. And then there's an app that you just transfer the information onto your phone app. And at that point, I have access to all my notes that I've ever written with this thing. You know, it also, I actually have a copy of everything saved on my Google Drive. You could do an automatic backup like that on like Evernote or any of those types of things. But in the app, I can go through and search for text and all that kind of stuff. It is fabulous. So first thing I'm going to do, we're going to write down the date. I think this is the 22nd. Yep. We're doing Chameleon Flakes. And I call that style where you're pouring clear mostly and then just having stripes of other colors, graffiti style. That's just what I've named the ones that I make. So number one, we're doing Chameleon Flake. So what I'm going to write down is I'm putting that, I call that my 2-inch mold. So this mold, I just call that the 2-inch mold basically. And then what resin, we're going to use Slow Set Clear. Now that mold holds about 400 grams total. It's 2-inch by 2-inch by 6.5. I'm not on camera. So, but we're going to be putting some wood in there. So I think that I'm just going to mix up like I think 350 ought to do. So that's 175 times 2. And then let's see here. And that's it. That's all I'm doing is clear. Now, when I'm using Alumilite Clear Slow Set, so not Amazing Clear Cast or any other brand, just Alumilite Clear, I'm pouring clear only. I'm going to add an extra gram of part B. So 175 of part A, 176 part B. I'm just adding a little extra part B. And again, this only works for this resin only. This does not apply in any other case. And it just helps to make sure that you get a dead clear casting when you're pouring a clear like that. And then for number 2, we're going to do the 5 color graffiti, I'm going to call it. And we're going to use the 5 Maker Select. 5 tube Maker Select, and we're going to use again Slow Set Clear. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of notes, some thinking on this, but basically most of that is going to be clear resin. We're going to pour, you know, a pretty thick thing of clear. And I think that those single tube blanks, they take probably about 75 grams, something like that, 70, let's just say. Let me look at my other notes. I think I made some notes here. Yeah, about 70, I think. That worked pretty well. We're just going to estimate 70 times 5 is 350. Is that right? That might be too much. It seems like too much. I don't know. I'd rather be over than under. So 70 times 5, 350, which is 175 times 2. Is that 350? Seriously? That is. Wow, they're both 350. So we're going to do the same exact amounts, 175 and 176 for the 5 color pen blanks. And then, like, most of it's going to be clear, but we're going to have 5 colors. I'm going to break out 10 grams of each one of those colors. All right, and then we're going to have clear. So 5 colors is 50, so 300 grams is going to be clear, and then we got 10 grams of each color. So we got black pearl, we got peacock flake, I guess we'll just call it. We have candy apple red flake. We got, what was it, antique gold? Shoot. Now I got to scroll back up. Peacock blue is usually a mica. From who, though? Interference gold. That's right. That's right. Okay, interference gold. and I get to pick a color. Let's see here. So we're going to go with, I want to go with, I think I'm going to go with a mica powder. We're going to do, I'm sifting through my box of Caster's Choice. Nothing has totally popped out. You know, let's, no, that's the same color we already have. Let's do, kind of leaning towards Phoenix Orange. I don't know. Let's do Phoenix Orange. That's one of my favorites. All right, so we're only going to have 10 grams total in each one of these little cups, so we don't need a whole lot of this stuff. But for the flakes, I'm probably going to I'm going to try a 1/4 teaspoon and see how that works. That's kind of a lot, I guess, but you want to have that really loaded up. For our mica powders, let's see, for black pearl, 10 grams. I mean, I'm just going to do an 1/8 teaspoon or so. Actually, I'm not even going to mess with that. We're going to just do a scoop, small scoop. And that generally, I'm going to use these little small guys and just kind of add a little bit of powder on the end, dump it in the cup. And then for interference gold, kind of the same thing. I'm just going to have to kind of sneak up on that. We don't need a whole lot of it. All right, so we got our colors. Let me get my interference gold out. So here we're just using a Pearl X color, interference gold. All right, so I got that mold back in the oven for a second. We're going to switch camera views. We're going to glue in our chunks, many chunks. So I just want to see how this thing sits in here. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little, I'd rather just put a little bit on the back of this, you know, on the end of the blank. And have that hold it in place there. That should be fine. You don't really need more than that probably. Hold that in place. That'll just keep it from moving around on us. And then I'm going to put this piece in like, oh, you guys probably didn't even see that. So I got that one. I just put the glue on the end of that. Now with this one, we're going to have to put the glue on the bottom here because I want it to kind of sit in the middle like this and actually have some room. Oh, I kind of forgot to paint on some Chameleon Flakes, but I think we'll just kind of move forward. I don't think it's going to matter. It actually is kind of more interesting that you can only see the flakes on the inside there. So I'm not sure exactly how this blank's going to be used either, so no biggie. Design on the fly, guys. Sometimes you got to design on the fly. All right, so we got our blanks ready to rock in there. We'll have a nice little kind of cavity right here. I'm going to toss this back in the oven. Let's see what we're doing here. JP will be in Texas soon. Nice. Caitlin the cat. What's up, Caitlin? Thanks for joining the fun tonight. I hear that Caitlin, are you going to be at Maker Central again? A little birdie told me you might be. Switch to the intro view while we're doing nothing. So hello, welcome to the stream, Caitlin. Let's see here. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So while that is kind of warming up in the oven there, I'm going to move this camera here So for the dragon egg style thing, all we're doing, we're going to mix up some Alumilite clear and just pour it in dead clear. That's all we're doing. So I think that we can kind of get that started. For the other one, we're going to do 5 colors. And let me feel. Okay, that mold is good. So let's actually do the 5 color first. And then I'm going to kind of point my light down, hopefully, maybe. No. Just doesn't really want to work with me. There we go. And we're going to get it over here. So, casting. All right, so there's a little bit more brightness, so you can kind of see. But in the meantime, what we're going to do, I'm just going to kind of tilt this top camera down for you guys while I kind of get everything ready. Working in this little area. I don't think that matters. All right, so we need to mix up. I'm going to get a big cup here, a quart mixing cup. All right. And we're going to zero out the scale. So in total, for that 5 color one, we need 350 grams. So I'm going to mix up 350 grams in this guy. And then what we're going to do, most of what we're going to be making for these pen blanks is going to just be clear resin. So let me pull this mold out. We're doing this in the Maker's Select or Maker Select. Oh, I guess it's this one. Maker Select. We're pretty much, most of the blank is going to be clear. So Caitlin just joined the fun. So something like this, where there's a lot of clear going on, and we just add some kind of color swirls. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to pop this. Actually, I'm going to hit this with some Stoner mold release real quick. That seemed to work pretty well last time. They just popped out with a little bit of air. So we got that going. Whoops. And what I have here are 5. These are like the condiment cups. So I just have those ready. That's what I'm going to, I'm going to mix up the total amount of resin. Then I'm going to dump 10 grams or so in each one of these cups. And then we're going to add all of our little mica powders and metal flakes and all that kind of good stuff to those little cups. Fill that mold with clear resin and then dump our, make little kind of swirls with our 5 cups. All right, so zeroing the scale out. 175, part A. $157. 167, 170, 2.6. We're getting there, guys. 175.1. Good enough. Zeroing that out, and again, I'm going to add a little bit more of the part B. This only works with Alumilite clear, not Amazing Clear Cast or any other resin. This is only a tip for Alumilite clear resin. I'm going to add 176 grams, one extra gram than the part A. Ooh, that was close. 174. Hey, welcome to the stream, Heather. New Zealand, down under. Pretty cool. We got to visit New Zealand a few years ago. Beautiful place. All right, so we got our resin. I'm going to switch to this bottom view thing now. The casting view. So we're mixing up our resin here. Want to make sure you mix it well. Scrape the sides and the bottom of the cup extremely well to make sure you get all of the little part A's and part B's mixed together. You don't want to leave kind of a film of, one of the resins unmixed on the outside. You can have some problems there. Alumilite clear is a pretty fast to mix. It mixes pretty well, pretty quickly. I would recommend, you know, most epoxies, you're better off mixing for, you know, a good 3 minutes. I find, just to make sure. With Alumilite clear, once there's no kind of hazy, misty stuff floating around still, you're good. Like it's mixed. So I'm just gonna measure out 10 grams. These don't need to be dead perfect or anything like that, but the more accurate and you know, perfect you are with measurements, the easier it is to repeat things in some cases. But for something like this, we're just kind of making some swirly blanks. It's not that imperative that we have exactly 10 grams or anything like that. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of eyeball. I know what 10 grams looks like now, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball the rest of these. And frankly, you don't even need to necessarily figure out, you know, what 10 grams is exactly. You can kind of just wing it most of the time. Where it really becomes important, though, is if you're trying to get very specific colors or amounts of mica in your resin, like you really kind of need to know how much resin you have there and how much, you know, mica powder or dye you put in that stuff if you need to make it repeatable. So just a couple notes, like I said, in most cases you can just kind of have at it and have fun with it, not really worry. But if you really want to get repeatable results, then the more accurate you are throughout all the steps and consistent, the better and more, you know, consistent results you'll get. If that made sense. So this is a 1/4 teaspoon spoon thing. We're going to try a 1/4 teaspoon of these metal flakes first. And then I'm just going to put, I call it kind of a small scoop, and this is not obviously, I don't know. It's just probably around 1/8 teaspoon. Who knows? We're just going to go with a mixing stick so that I don't have to clean off my, oops, I don't want black again. What am I doing? So we added black pearl. So this is Caster's Choice Black Pearl. I apologize that my camera does not want to, it never works over there. And then Caster's Choice Phoenix Orange. That's a great color. It's one of my favorites. It never wants to focus on anything. Yeah. And then we're going with Interference Gold. I'm just going to add a little bit to start. Not too much. I'm trying to get what I want. So not too much. We're going to kind of see how that works out. And, oh, that's not what I meant to do. We're okay. Saved it. Oh no, I got some red in the peacock. That's not good. Well, whatever. It'll just blend in. You won't even notice it. I think that'll work pretty good. So these little flakes can kind of sink and settle in resin. So I think that we're probably better waiting till kind of the end of the working time with this. In general, that's kind of a best way to go for color swirl type, you know, mixing multiple colors together. So, and I'm going to do that by temperature. What I'm finding is about 105 degrees or so is usually pretty good. Maybe 110 if I'm really trying to get something to stay in place. Kind of depends on how long you're going to be pouring all these colors as well. So for anybody that's not really sure what an interference color is, it works best to have a dark background behind it. It just kind of looks like pearly and has a little bit of a hint. This is gold, interference gold. They work best having a black, like literally a black background on them. So if you're making pen blanks and you use interference colors, like I make the opal effects, I use interference, and I generally recommend painting the inside of the blank black after you've drilled it, and before you put the tube in. And I wouldn't recommend painting the tube black only. I would go for paint the inside of the blank on that. you'll get the best kind of effects in your pen blank. And so here's our metallic black. It's a Caster's Choice Black Pearl. All right, so we got everything there. We got our big cup of clear resin. And then I'm just kind of waiting, like I said, I'm waiting for the right temperature. So I'm going to get the temperature gun out. You can get these, they're infrared thermometers. If you're in the US, Harbor Freight, I don't think they don't have Harbor Freight in anywhere else but the US, right? I may be wrong about that, but if you're in the US, Harbor Freight's got them. So we're at 97.5 degrees right now. I don't know if you can hear that. That's we need to fix our heater fan. It's like hitting the grate, which is not good. It's probably damaging it, but it makes a racket for a while and then goes away. Fix it one of these days. So our resin's at 97.5. I always like to kind of stir it up. I find that it's hottest on the bottom, and so sometimes you're reading the top temperature. So I just stirred that up and it went up 3 degrees. You know, so you want to kind of mix it up and then test it. That'll give you a more accurate temperature. Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, everybody picked, so I picked the Phoenix Orange, but we had the chat. I like to have the chat pick colors. And so Jen picked Peacock. She said blue. This is a little bit more like a teal, but we used Peacock Flakes. And I can't remember who picked, somebody picked the red metal flake. That's kind of a candy apple red. And we got Kevin Carpenter picked the Interference Gold. And Rich picked the metallic black. So generally people that super chat, they get to pick the colors. So, but Jamie's not here, so he didn't get to pick a color. And I know what color he probably would have picked if he was here. What color would he have picked, Doug? What do you think Jamie would have picked? So we're at 103. So we're almost there. I'm going to pull this mold out. It was actually pretty warm already, so I don't think it needs to sit in there any longer. It's nice and toasty. So let's move this like this. That's how I want it. Kind of get you guys in here into the action a little bit. It's kind of an odd, weird angle. Sorry about that. I don't have awesome lighting. Actually, let's do it like that. That should be a little bit better. Get you guys ready for the action here a little bit. Okay, so, and I could have just poured this clear in whenever I wanted, but I'm just going to kind of fill it about 3/4 or so. Until it's already pretty thick, so this is going to be good timing, I think, on this. Oh, that was a little bit more than 3/4, but that's okay. Probably could have gone with a little bit less resin. All right, so that looks pretty good. The next step is we're just going to kind of pour all these guys. So I'm going to get all these sticks out of the way. This is the fun part. So, and I learned this trick from Chad. So you just do like so on each color, and you get some pretty cool looking stuff. A little bit of peacock, or sorry, not peacock, Phoenix Orange in the mix. And last but not least, a little bit of black. Yeah, it looks like the peacock is kind of settling a lot. I find a lot of times like the glittery types of things, they kind of do better pouring. You'll get them suspended better if you pour them vertically in a like a PVC pipe. Another thing we could have done is waited a little bit longer before we poured those in here. That could kind of help a little bit, but we'll still get some in there. It's just a lot of it ended up kind of just settling to the bottom. You really kind of have to wait till, you know, like the end for certain things that are kind of heavier than the resin. And then I'm going to add a little bit more. This one's a little bit low in the middle here, so we're going to add a little bit of resin to this one. A little bit more. A little bit here. All right, so we got those pretty well filled right. Now, one thing that I think that I really liked on, I didn't do on the first ones that we made, but I kind of like, so I think we're just going to do this on 2 of these. Grabbing a toothpick, I'm just going to kind of twirl these around a little bit, and that'll add just a little bit of kind of interest, a little bit of prettiness, I think, to your swirls. It'll be a little bit different than just having them, you know, kind of just sit in place the way that we poured it. So we'll get to kind of look at the difference between those two, see if there's any difference really. And then at this point, we're just going to pop this into the pressure pot. You can put it on one of those little stand things if you want. I don't really need to in this case. Make sure that we're nice and tight, and 70 psi, and we're good to go. Woo! Yeah, it did kind of sink. Honestly, I think some parts of it are going to be, I think some parts will be up a little bit higher, like smaller bits. But it did kind of sink a little bit, which is kind of surprising. We did wait, you know? I don't know. If you need like very specific results, usually, you know, you're going to kind of have to just test things. You know, when you're using different materials and stuff like that, you're best off knowing going into it that you'll probably need to do this once or twice to get exactly what you want, you know, done. I haven't used that peacock stuff in that type of scenario before, so, you know, next time, and this is the kind of stuff that would be great to put in your notebook, you know, like, oh, it really sunk and I still waited till, you know, a minute 5 or 105 degrees. You know, that's the kind of stuff that'll help you for next time. It's not necessarily better to use a pressure pot, Caitlin. It's just Alumilite clear, it sets up so fast that you have to. Pressure, all it's doing is collapsing any air bubbles that are in there. And so for me, I have to use it because I use Alumilite clear resin, so I have to use them. And even if I'm using a different resin, I generally just pressurize it so that I don't get air bubbles. It's kind of an insurance policy. There are resins that set slower, that you have a lot more working time. The problem is, you know, for that, you know, for what we just did, and the reason I don't like slow setting resins is I would have had to mix it and then like walk away and then come back, like, you know, if the working time's 45 minutes or something like that, I would literally have to just leave it sitting for 40 minutes probably. And so that's one of the problems that people have, where they think that, you know, you don't need pressure, but at the same time, in that case, you're pouring it when it's really thick, and that's going to probably, you know, trap air bubbles again. So I recommend just getting pressure pots. I think it's the best way to go, regardless of the resin you're using, but just know that that's all you're doing. It's just taking air bubbles out of the resin. It doesn't serve any other purpose. So if you don't use pressure, now you can get away with it, but you have to, you know, use something that has a long working time. And the other thing about it is you would have to mix really slow. Basically, you're going to introduce the air bubbles into the resin. It's not like there's air magically just sitting in the resin. It's when you mix and you know, mixing and pouring it, that's what traps air bubbles into it. So you would want to stir really slowly. And then the other thing about it is if you're putting like wood in a bunch of stuff where it would trap air bubbles underneath it, they can't float out. And so at that point, that's another reason why you would want pressure, is when you can't remove, you know, the air bubbles won't float out of the resin on their own. So hopefully that kind of helped out a little bit. It was kind of, I don't know if that was the greatest explanation I've ever given about that, but you get the gist. I just generally kind of recommend, for me, things like that, I would rather just not worry about it and go with a pressure pot. Plus, I sell blanks, and I'm not even gonna take a chance that there's air bubbles. You know, I'm gonna pressurize everything. Philip's here. What's up, man? How's it going? And Gary from Texas. Nice. Oh yeah, I just talked to Curtis myself. I had to order resin from him, and he was out of the one that I needed. So I was texting him, "Hey, when are you gonna get this in?" And he was like, "Dude, we just added it to the inventory." So yeah. And I got some more Turntex vacuum chambers coming. Finally decided what I wanted to do. I screwed up this summer. My dad opened the front door and the sun baked the cactus juice. It wasn't his fault. I don't even know if I would have like actually thought about what was going on if I was in the shop, but I wasn't there. And so it cured in my 8-inch Turntex, really expensive vacuum chamber. It cured in place. And so I've been down to my 4-inch, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do to replace it. And I finally decided I'm getting a 6-inch chamber. I found that 8-inch chamber was a bear to empty, you know, the juice out of. Like you're filling it with like 2 gallons of resin and then wood in there. And it was like, oh, you know, you're trying to pick it up and dump it out. So I got a 6-inch, and then I got two more 4-inch chambers. So, okay, so again, this one's going to be 350 grams that we're going to mix up. So it's a 175 and then 176. So let's, you guys are kind of looking at from the above view. So let's get this going here. Yeah, and that's actually one other thing that I want to mention. Make sure if you're buying resins, and I actually kind of forgot to mention this at that class that I just taught down in Phoenix. You really don't want to buy resin from like online, like Amazon, like an online random warehouse. Like it may end up sitting on the shelf, you know, in stock for like a year before you buy it. And most resins have like a 4 to 6 month shelf life. So you get it and it's already bad. And that, you know, that could be one problem that people have, you know, if you have problems with your resin, it may just be bad. So I recommend getting your resins from a good supplier. Turntex is a good supplier of Alumilite resin. Same with Turner's Warehouse. You can buy it directly from Alumilite. I'm taking a little bit out. I went a little bit over. I want this at 175 for the Part A. So Turner, those are I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. Those are the ones that I use or know of. Alumilite directly. Oh, actually, if you're in the UK for Alumilite, House of Resin. They're a good source. You want to make sure that you're buying it from people that turn over stock regularly so that you're not buying something that has sat on the shelf. I also don't really recommend buying resins from like even Michael's. unless you know for a fact that they, Michael's or Hobby Lobby or your local hobby store, unless you know for a fact that they turn it over, people are always constantly buying it from them. I don't really recommend that either. So make sure you find good sources for your resin. If at all possible, just buy it from the manufacturer. They're not going to sell stuff that's like old, and if not, then buy it from retailers that move stock. Okay, so zeroing this out. And again, this one we're just going for clear. Donna's near Austin. Nice. I got a buddy that lives in Austin. Yeah, definitely. Friend me. Is it friend me or Curtis? I don't know who we're talking about. Yeah, the Envy Woodworks one is on my Facebook. Nice. San Antonio. Oh, I didn't know you were in San Antonio. Cool. Nice. All right, so we're going for 176 on this. 175 part A, 176 the part B. And again, I want to make sure everybody understands that only works with Alumilite clear and either regular clear or the slow set, either one of those. Not Amazing Clear Cast or any other epoxy or any other resin. It's strictly for this one. It just helps ensure that you get a dead clear casting. Sometimes what can happen is if it's a little part A heavy, if it's dead even, then you have nothing to worry about. But the reason I add a little extra part B is if it just for some reason through the mixing process or your scale was off somehow or just for some weird fluke reason, if it ended up that your mixture was part A heavy, it can have kind of a haziness to it, like a white kind of haziness. So I always just recommend, it's not going to affect the ratio or anything, just add a little extra part B just to make sure. And again, that only works for Alumilite clear, regular or slow set, either one. Usually you don't really need to worry so much about, I don't really find people using regular as often for certain things like this, but I don't know. Well, I take that back. I would use the regular for like tube in, like label blanks, pen blanks. So it would stand for that too. Either way. All right, so we got that all mixed up. This one's going to be easy, guys. This is about as easy as it gets. All right. We're just going to stick some clear resin in here. You've been friends with Curtis for 15 years. Oh my God. Oh man. You put up with Curtis for 15 years? Curtis is a good guy. So for anybody that doesn't know, Curtis Seebeck is the guy that makes, he runs Turntex, but he came up with, he makes and sells cactus juice. Guys, I'm seeing some little kind of, I forgot to blow this mold out with air, so I'm actually going to do that. There's little things, I don't want little specks of dust. And I'm going to be kind of careful while I do that, but, oh, yeah, I blew that didn't work so well. All right, so we're gonna have to go with a different method of holding this other block down. I accidentally blew the block out. So this one's not really stuck. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of tape it. I have some packing tape, that'll do just fine. Mainly I just don't really want it to move around or float. So hot glue works fine, but if you accidentally blow the thing out of the mold, then you got to come up with a new way of doing it. So I'm just going to do that. That'll do the same exact thing as the hot glue. Now, in this case, what I want to do is I just want to pour it to the bottom. So let's try and get you guys. Where's my camera crew? Like that. No. And then a little bit down. Which way? What's going on? Hold on. trying to get you guys a good view of this. And it's just being kind of ridiculous. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to pour it to the bottom, and I'm hoping that this was enough resin. Still might be enough time to mix up some more. That would be, I'd say, one good advantage. You know, in this case, like, we don't have to wait or do anything, you know, we kind of want to pour this when it's thin, really, you know, or whenever. I would recommend pouring stuff like this thinner because it'll flow into these little crevices and everything, and it's just a better way to go. Now, if you're using a slow setting resin, and let's say that you didn't mix up enough, and all you got to do is mix up some more clear, you know, you got plenty of time to fix a problem like that. Probably would have enough time with Alumilite clear, slow set even, but, you know, so just, you know, that's one kind of advantage. There's not a best resin to use for resin casting. It really depends on, you know, what are you doing and what do you like? You know, find the resin that has the characteristics that you prefer working with or, you know, turning. That's the way to pick a resin. It's not going to be based on what you see other people use. It's just, you know, which one has the working characteristics that you like. That's the best one to go with. If you are in a very humid area, I probably don't necessarily, well, and you don't have a way to, you know, you're not in an air-conditioned building where you're doing the casting. Alumilite clear can pose some problems. It doesn't like humid, you know, moisture and humidity. So, you know, in that case, I probably wouldn't really go, if I was in Hawaii, I wouldn't probably use Alumilite unless I was in an air-conditioned shop, you know. I would probably go with something else that's just not as moisture, I don't know what the word is. It's not as affected by moisture. And a lot of people over in the UK use Amazing Clearcast, I think, because of that. It's a little bit less prone to problems due to humidity. But I personally kind of prefer Alumilite. I like a lot of its work, you know, characteristics. It just works best for the way and things that I do and the way that I work. All right, so 70 psi. Now, one little note about pressure pots. So I buy CA Technologies pressure pots. They have a working pressure max of 80 psi, and I go to 70. I don't go above that in them. So whatever pressure pot you're using, make sure that you do not overpressurize it. Stay below the max PSI. And my rule of thumb personally, just to be kind of on the safe side, is to be 10 PSI below whatever the sticker says the max is on the pot. That way, if there's, you know, there's no question that you're being safe. And, you know, 70 compared to 80, not much difference there. So 70 is fine. But anyway, what time is it? 5? We did pretty good today. We had a couple hours. So I hope you guys enjoyed the fun. Don't forget, we have the Turner's Warehouse ornament auctions for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I'm going to put let's see. I'm just going to put a link to, the problem is I can put a direct link, and I'll get a link in the show notes for anybody that watches this back over the next couple days. But I'm just going to put a link to Turner's Warehouse Facebook page. The auctions it's in a post. And the problem is I can't copy the post link. It's like 900 characters long, and it won't actually post in the chat window here. So I'm just going to put a link to their Facebook page. It's pinned at the top, and so it's basically an album. And I don't know how many ornaments came in, like, you know, there's like 30 or something like that. And there's just a picture of each ornament, and you just, you know, click on the picture, and then you can bid down in the comments, and it's going to go until Sunday, the auction. So you know, if you can go over there, check it out, bid on some ornaments. If you don't really want to bid on them or anything like that, if you would please share that post and let other people know about the auctions, I'd greatly appreciate it. We're just trying to, you know, raise as much money as possible for St. Jude's. And if you haven't seen all the final, you know, like the finished ornaments that got turned in, they are amazing. So I did a video, right? And mine was, it was fine. There was nothing, it wasn't spectacular. It wasn't whatever. Like pretty much out of all of the ornaments that got turned in, I'm pretty sure that mine is the worst. Like it is by far the simplest and nothing, no frills. Go and check out some of those ornaments are ridiculously amazing. They did so good. So go check that out, share that about. And then the other thing, like I said, next weekend, so the 29th through the 1st, Black Friday deal on my Beginner's Guide to Resin Casting ebook, and that's available on my website. I'll just put a link to that real quick in the chat. There's a link to it in the show note, or like in the description down below already. So that'll be on sale, 50% off. So $5 for the Beginner's Guide for Black Friday. So it's pretty cool. I wanted to do that this year. So it's ready to go. So hopefully people will pick it up. And then for the holidays, for Christmas and whatever, you guys can stock up on your supplies and get going with casting. So we got that going, and I think that's about it. So let's see here. Before I close things down, am I missing? Let me just slow my brain down real quick. Sometimes I get all like, whoa, what's up? At the end. I think that's about it. So I will have the blanks from last week. I'll have them up on my website soon, like this week. And then I will post when I demold. Let's see, where did they go? I don't know, whichever one they're in. I'll post when I demold those blanks, the 5 blanks and this dragon egg one. They'll all be up for grabs on my website, probably the following week, sometime. So be looking for that. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining the fun tonight. We'll be back next. We'll probably be back. It'll probably be a short one. It'll be Friday. Let's see. What day is Thanksgiving? Is it Thursday? What day is it? Anybody know what day Thanksgiving is? I don't even know what day. Yeah, Thursday. Okay, so we'll probably do a stream next Friday. It'll probably be kind of simple. I'll try and get something going. But next Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, we'll do another stream unless something weird goes on. But I should be in the shop, so I don't see why we wouldn't. So I hope to see you guys all next Friday. Again, have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you guys for some reason. I guess I'm not going to see you till next Friday. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the States. And even if you're not, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have a great meal next Thursday, like we will, hopefully, like everybody in the States hopefully will be having. And yeah, so have a great evening, and I will see you guys all next Friday.